Hello, and welcome to another YouTube vid. We are back with a review from this weekend. This is the qualifying match of Atlanta Reign versus the San Francisco Shock. If you're a San Francisco Shock fan and you don't know the results of this match yet, just maybe stick around and watch. This is an interesting match. Speaking from Kai himself, he actually said he expected this to be a harder match, and I think everyone did. The San Francisco Shock was one of the more dominant forces that we had in the June Joust. They looked almost unbeatable. We were like, they're back. The two-time champions. It's all coming together. It wasn't. It did not all come together. Fortunately, fell flat in this match. On the other hand, I don't even think it was a massive failure by the San Francisco Shock. I just think the Atlanta Reign just proved that they were a better team in this meta. We actually talked to Gator over the weekend, and he said they haven't practiced the Lucio Moira composition, and they haven't practiced this like pseudo goats style of playing the game. I'm starting to think that he's a dirty liar, and he was lying to us. I know, ridiculous that a player would lie to us about strategy on a post-game interview. But yeah, they look very good. If they haven't practiced it, they're insane because they actually look very good in this meta. And honestly, every single player from Atlanta Reign looks very good. And that's what's been so impressive to me. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to precursor this here, and I'm going to say it so it's in the void. For my pick'ems, I'm going to put Atlanta Reign to win. And here's why. I think that they look the most well-rounded team in the entire June Joust, and if they can perform like they did this weekend against Boston and against the Shock, I think they can take it. Their flexibility of being able to play the Lucio Moira comp very effectively, on top of the fact that Kai Pelican as a DPS duo when they're playing Gator Hawk on the shield comps, they're very good. And I actually think that they're gonna have the edge over a lot of these other teams. I don't think the East is playing the right comps right now, so maybe this will come back to blow up in my face, but hey, you gotta risk it to get the biscuit. And you know, I was high on Atlanta coming into this season, and I think they're finally starting to get there. The coaching of Unta, like the addition of the coach Unta onto this team, you can see it having a visual effect on this team, and they look way more consistent. They look like they understand the meta very well. So Unta Stonks on the way up, which you love to see. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a very good team. Let's get into this. Let's get into this and start understanding why it all broke down.
Capture the objective.
Is it me, or do they look a lot more polished and sharp with Kai instead of Edison? Edison only comes into play when they play the Lucio Moira. Edison comes into play the Reaper when they play this Lucio Moira comp. Every other time they're going to play Kai, because Kai's a hit scan. So we got both teams just farming ults, trying to get their coalescence first. Bada bing, bada boom. Damage. Violet is well ahead of this comp and this right now. So we're going to see Shock go first, for sure. Interesting, because the Shock go about 2 seconds early. Because I think if the Shock just waited for the coalescence, they would have had an advantage. I understand they need to touch the point, but I think they could have touched the point without jumping in, right? They had waited for the coalescence from Violet and then jumped in with Striker TPing behind. They would have been way more effective, and they would have had the advantage. Because they don't wait that 2 seconds, by the time that they've dove, Striker's already used his Wraith form out. Smurf has used his bubble, and they're on the disengage. This is going to give the initiative to the Atlanta Reign with all their cooldowns, right? Atlanta Reign is going to use their cooldown. Boom. And I think that's going to give them more space, right? Gator has that bubble. Gives them a little bit more space to walk forward. And they get punished on Choi. Got Diva bombs, they got beats. Choi goes down to the because he doesn't get the beat from FDGod. Well, I like that Diva bomb. The positioning of the Atlanta Reign is just way better. Oh, that was a gamble by Striker going for that Death Blossom at the last second there. That was a very expensive fight for Shock to lose, and that can't be understated how valuable that is. Shock, and I think it was Reinforce who hit this point on the broadcast, is the Shock are getting punished for trying to win fights maybe it was Sideshow actually on the broadcast, but the Shock are getting punished for using ults to try and turn fights that many people don't try and turn. Usually Shock gets away with it, but I think they actually got heavily punished in this match trying to retake using ultimates. And because the reason it is bad to do that, and you don't see a lot of teams do it, is you end up in this situation. If you go on to lose that fight, all of a sudden the Shock use copy, Reaper ult, and beat. Obviously they're going to get another Coalescence to lose a fight. So all of a sudden they're at a massive disadvantage trying to re-engage into this. So, and that's probably going to create this compounding effect later into the next couple of team fights. Logan Strait, thank you very much for the 5 months. Sad for Shockies and for Glads. Yeah, it's very sad. But, you know, it's the way the cookie crumbles. As much as you're sad for those teams, you got to be happy for Atlanta Reign and the Dallas Fuel. Also, thank you for the gifted subs to Mr. Zetus, whoever did that. Okay, Shock are going to go high ground. They should be getting a pretty good advantage. I assume they're going to wait for the Coalescence, but Iris is going to get a Coalescence of his own. Oh, I like this Death Blossom by Edison. The reason I like this Death Blossom by Edison is it doesn't do a lot, right? But it forces so much positioning. It forces the Coalescence early as like a damage control. But it also, he's not going to get punished for it, but he's also going to break this bubble. It's going to force a lot of cooldowns from the San Francisco Shock without costing them much. I don't know if I like the timing of the positioning of the bomb and the Coalescence. Kind of sad on his show, but that's, you know, we're in a chaotic fight. I think Atlanta might have over-ulted off the bat right here. If they can't get a punish onto the Shock, obviously they've done a good job of forcing position onto these Megas. But if they don't get a punish onto the Shock are going to get the ults cycling way faster. You know, obviously we've got Smurf with that Primal, but Choi with the Diva Bomb could be the difference maker right here. I don't agree with this Diva Bomb by Choi. I think that was quite a poor Diva Bomb. He threw it in a situation where everyone can just go more aggressive. And he's actually kind of lucky that no one saw it do that. That Diva Bomb didn't really get a whole lot of value and actually might have cost them a lot. And that's another one, right? Of all of a sudden they've used all their ults in a losing fight. I don't blame that. That one was nowhere near as bad as the last one, but unless Striker just blinks in here and uses his Death Blossom. But it should seem like we're gonna get a full reset, so let's see how this goes. We're pretty even on ults. Double beat from Atlanta Reign and Shock. This Pelican copy is gonna be the big one, I think. I think Pelican copy is gonna cause a lot of problems for the Shock, with just him being able to throw Diva Bombs all over the place. So I think it's gonna be on Striker to get a good Death Blossom. How do Lucius match up? I think FDGod and Masar are both phenomenal Lucios, so I think they're matching up pretty evenly right now. They're beat for beat right now, 100%. Alright, so double beat engage. So the advantage is coming from, I actually don't like this. How much of an overlap is this beat in this Coalescence from the Shock? I don't know if this beat was necessary right here. I don't think that beat was great by FDGod right there. I also think the Death Blossom was bad, actually, right? Yeah, Striker kind of beat it into a Death Blossom, which I think caused them some problems. So the big advantage from all of this, right, is like we're overanalyzing this one round. Like, I'm not going to do this for every single team fight. I'm just kind of curious to see how this is going. The advantage is coming from Iris, right, is the Shock used the Coalescence to beat and the Death Blossom and didn't get any value, right? Really, all they did was trade that out for a copy and a beat. So the advantage comes for the Atlanta Reign, right? Now they have that Coalescence. So it's going to be very heavily, all of a sudden it flips over to Nero. He has to get good value out of this Echo copy. That's another Diva Bomb, though. I think they've thrown too far into the backline. To the person who was saying, why don't they throw more Diva Bombs into the backline? Here's another prime example of why you shouldn't. Choi did the same thing. By throwing it into the backline, with how sustainable these comps are, generally if you throw it into the backline, people are just going to run into you. And they'll use their abilities to go aggressive. right? So Edison comes in late with his Death Blossom, gets a ton of value on a Violent Striker. So, like, imagine if that Diva Bomb was like here. That completely changes the positioning and the movement of the opposition team. And I think that's the second one that we've seen from Choi and now Nero, where the bombs haven't really got any value. What about for FDGod? People are being a little too harsh on him. You can see it's taking his toll on him. Yeah, we talked a lot about FDGod so far. I guess we can sort of hit on this. We're going to highlight it as the match goes on, but I think people who are just blaming FDGod for the failures of the shock are just being ridiculous. I don't think FDGod had a good game by any means. I think he would tell you that himself. No, not as much on the Lucio, but on the Mercy. Just a lot of first deaths. But it is not just his fault. There's a lot of different circumstances that result in why the shock lost, and that's what I'm trying to break down in this match. If you just solely believe that FDGod is 100% the problem, then you're just wrong. I can't understate how wrong you are right now. I think FDGod's a phenomenal player. You can tell it is adding, like, playing badly is one of the hardest things to ever deal with. Like, I've been there as a player. It's like, I was so shit in this match, and it just weighs so heavily on you. And then you go to social media, then you go to people sending you messages being like, you're so shit, you're the worst player, you're losing this, we were champions before you, all that kind of stuff. Those people are just wrong, and they're assholes. And if you are actually a fan of the San Francisco Shock, this is the time that they need you most, when they're going through these struggles. And you shouldn't feel entitled to feel like they lost, so therefore I need to blame them. Don't blame the players. The players are the hardest on themselves. They don't need you also being hard on them. Everyone should be supporting these guys, because FDGod, we know FDGod is a great player. He is a phenomenal player. But he's definitely in his head right now about a lot of things. And as soon as you get in your head, it's hard to get out. So I really hope for the best for him. And I hope he can start turning this around, because he definitely struggled in this match. I don't think as I said, he's not the sole reason. He's not the biggest problem. And he's not the only reason they're losing. So as much as he struggled, you gotta give him a break. I heard a lot of saying FDGod's deaths on Mercer trying to say Vive for Babson. Does that sound right to you? We'll find out. As I said, when we were watching it live, I have the same perspective of you. It was just as hard for me watching it, being like, man, FDGod, you just gotta play more safe. But the way that they were playing the game, I'm sure is gonna show us and dictate that, right? So we're just gonna have to wait and see. So I'm sort of precursoring the whole situation, right? Carlito, thank you for the 100 bits. I feel that FDGod style was so good with Fielder style and doesn't mesh well with Viet. And that's just a synergy thing, right? And that's just something that takes time. But we don't know. We don't know. We'll have a look at it. We'll break it down. Oh, Striker gets that was a little ambitious. I don't know how he takes so much damage so quickly here. He is very far ahead, isolating himself though. Like, that's a little too much. I think he gets shot by the Reaper at the exact same time as he gets hit by the Echo. He loses like 160 health, like, instantly. No, the consensus grade was that Glads were pretty good. They were fine. They just weren't as good as Dallas. Dallas just had the edge. Good kill. Dallas are on such a heavy back foot here though, right? And I talked about this in the Dallas match. I think losing a Reaper is one of the worst characters you can lose in this mirror matchup. Excuse me, Violet? Losing a Reaper is one of the worst characters to lose in this mirror matchup. So they're down Striker, and they lose Mech, and they lose FDGod. Oh, that is a bad call by Violet. That's a uncharacteristic mistake by Violet on that one. Hubert, thank you very much for 2 months. Smile. You guys are back in 20 seconds anyway. Yeah, but all of a sudden, right? As much as he does get it back fast, and I know you're memeing, it's like, think about it, how much of a negative that is for Violet. How do they engage this fight now? Literally, as soon as Smurf dives, Iris is just gonna Coalescence and they just win the fight for free. Like, this is so hard for the Shock to win this fight now.
Routing power to forward barrier.
That was actually very well baited by Shock. Look at this. Shock actually understand that, I think. There's a reason Smurf doesn't jump. And I think Iris should have held it. And I know it's easy to say looking oversight with hindsight, but he should have held it. Shock is just baiting him to use his Coal so they can run away, right? So that was very well played by the Shock. You got to give them that. As much as that was a very minor mistake, and that usually would have worked, that was a good play by Shock. So Smurf engages with the Primal, just going to split up the rest of the roster, right? Good beat by Massar, giving them a lot of protection. Doesn't hit Gator though, which is unfortunate. Yeah, because Gator's going to die for that. Good beat by FDGod as well to give them that aggression. Diva Bomb, Diva Bomb. I feel like Violet is getting... He got caught by a Diva Bomb in the other one as well, right? What happened here? Violet just doesn't have the... Oh, that's a good Diva Bomb. That really fucks Violet. Does Violet not have Coal hit? Yeah. Oh, he has Fade. Oh, he just didn't see it. Oh, shit. Okay. I thought he might not have had Fade. Big bomb by Pelican. Oh, Shocking gonna get the cap for that, though. And I think the Reaper being up is, I'm gonna say it once again, I think the Reaper, having the Reaper up on the point on this situation is so valuable. As much as I think Rain didn't realize how far they were ahead in that fight. I think maybe they could have reaggressed, but as I said, you don't want to fall into the same issue of Shock of, if they reaggress, they were gonna have to use ults. Oh, Pelican just gets murdered by Nero.
My ultimate is ready. Let's kill.
Oh! That was brutal.
I've taken damage. System health compromised. Boosting up.
People shitting on FDGod didn't see Violet throw way harder. I think people are less likely to ever talk badly about Violet because of previous incredible performances, right? And everyone is a big fan of Violet. People are very selective about who they shit on. You know what the easy solution is? To just not shit on anybody. Oh, look at that. Look at that rap by the Shock. I actually really like this rap. Oh! How does he get punished for this one? I actually really like this engage by the Shock. I actually think this is a really smart engagement. Oh, that's a lot of damage. I don't blame Violet for that one. That is unfortunate. Oh, Hawk's dead. Oh, Hawk, get out of that. Nice play. Shock almost turned this back around. Do they turn it? Yeah, that was a great play, but unfortunately that kill by onto Violet was kind of brutal.
I'll show them.
Wait, one sec. I forgot to change my title. There we go. All right, let's go. Nero copy into the Coal. Violet doesn't have a Coal, which is going to be the same issue. Oh. Just died very quick. Got burned down by Pelican. And Pelican, you can't understate how good Pelican was in this series. Pelican was actually insane. I think this is kind of an interesting mistake by the Fuel of the Engage, because they know that they can't do this without the Coalescence, because they did the same thing. It kind of feels like they're forcing it this time, right? It feels like they're like, oh, we have to go if we just Nero copy our way in. But they just don't have the sustainability, right? The Coalescence is just too good of an ultimate. FDGod, I don't know why FDGod ran over here. I think he should have been close there. Violet might have been able to help push away some of the aggression, but that kind of felt very forced by the San Francisco Shock. And they just didn't have the sustainability to win that fight. Did I say the fuel? Sorry, I meant the shock. That was a bad mistake by the shock. Alright, so is Reyna gonna go aggressive with the beat? Interesting. I actually kind of like that. They catch FDGod. I love that recognition, that adaptation, right? That we know they're gonna have to rush the point. We know they're gonna try and cross the distance. As soon as they do, we're just gonna beat engage. Let's just run at them. And even they almost gave up the point, but then they punish. They come back after they get the advantage of killing FDGod. But yeah, the Primal's too good. Primal's too... Oh, I don't know about that beat by FDGod. Smurf having the Primal was very smart. He's on the point, forces them back. They try and punish Smurf, but he just Primals. Creates a lot of space with the Coalescence. Yeah, especially with the Coal going on right now. This beat was... Oh, yeah. That was a bad one. That was a bad one. Right. Bro, FDGod, what are you doing? I know, I understand the reasoning of why he does that. Like, I think it's so easy to, it's final fight. You want to make sure you're winning the fight. You need to get back. You see everyone's low health. Like, he's probably turning this corner and seeing everything's critical, right? Because, yeah, like, if you look at it from his perspective, right? So he's running back. He hears the Death Blossom, and look at how many criticals he sees, right? Like, this is the reason why, right? I think this is almost certainly the reason he goes for this. You hear Death Blossom and you see this. Tell me that you're not gonna press Q. Right? Like, I can understand, like, here is the thing of, like, as much as in hindsight, when we look at it from our perspective and we see all the things, but from his perspective, I can completely understand where this beat comes from, because he's gonna make, like, he's gonna make it to the point with this beat. So, like, you can't blame FDGod for that beat. Obviously, hindsight, it's bad. I'm sure FDGod will agree it was bad, but I can completely understand why that happened. Yo, thank you for the 100 bits and none. So, here we go. All of a sudden, though, here's the weakness of that, right? Shock don't have the beat. They don't have any ults either. So, like, their cycling has been kind of off. They used everything to try and solve that point. So, yeah, I think they have to give positioning here. I think this is the right play. I think they got to give this to the Rain and then just try and get a fight on the point, because they need to get up to their Coalescence. Or just the Diva Bomb. Or just anything. I think they're just hoping for gold. Hoping for a mistake. Great play by Atlanta, right? Atlanta's not giving them anything, right? They're not forcing an engage. They get on the point. Then Gator goes. This is going to force a split. Diva Bomb goes down at the perfect time by Hawk. Very smart play. Oh, Nero, yeah, just trying to give him any kind of space. Just gets completely knocked out. I don't know if he could have... Because he couldn't get to the Diva. Yeah, that was a great turn by the Atlanta Rain. Because that Diva Bomb just isolated Nero so much. They use a bubble on Choi's Diva Bomb. Yeah, and this, as much as we say this is like Shockers making mistakes, these aren't unforced errors. These are forced errors by the Atlanta Rain. Atlanta Rain is playing it so well. They're not really giving Shock an in, and then Shocker making these forced errors that are just uncommon. And I think that's what's surprising to a lot of people. This is the first meta without any credit control? Yeah, maybe.
Ready for battle.
If you go watch the Shock Watch Party, Emong predicts the exact strategy Atlanta are about to implement on Hanamura, but somehow the Shock coaches didn't seem to have prepped for it. Okay, see, but here's the difference, right? Coaches can only get you so far. And this is something that is blown up all the time, right? Of like, when something really fundamentally goes wrong, a lot of people will blame the coaches. You can't, as a coach, you can't prepare the team for everything, right? You can give them a lot of guidance and you can try and set them up. Yeah, for all we know, the Shock knew that it was coming, but in the heat of the moment, with the backs against the wall, they don't make the right call. It's the same thing with players, with hero switches in a game. It's like, people are like, why would the coaches let this player switch to this? sometimes players just switch because they think it's the right call. Coaches aren't in their ear. Coaches don't make these decisions. There's only so much a coach can do, and I think it's hard to just blame the shot coaches when I think it could. You
Thank you very much,
blame
Money.
the preparation of the players in the game, right? Probably a bit of both. I don't think you can point to one aspect and be like, because of one thing in the game. So in hindsight, like watching a game over where you can see all the ultimates, you can see the setups from an overhead view, it's very easy to do. Emong's a very smart guy, very smart player. Any great player is going to be able to read the game when you have when you have everything given to you. It's a lot harder to do in game. It's easy to miscalculate it on. It's easy to everything to get lost in the source. It's easy to focus on one thing and forget about something else, right? So you do need to be careful about making assumptions based on like things. So on like blaming coaches, blaming individual players, right? And here's where we start to see the failings of the Shock. I think that last round, I think that was the Shock making a couple of minor mistakes, but it wasn't strategy. I don't think it was like hard planning. It was just, I think they just made a couple of mistakes, like ultimate mistakes. Player mistake. The first round was very close, but the second round wasn't as close. So a couple of things just not going their way, and a couple of minor mistakes costing them a lot. All right, so now we get to see Atlanta Reign step into their element, right? And here's where we can. Wait, so coaches don't talk to the mid-game? No. So if you were going under that pretense, then yes. Coaches are not allowed to talk to the play. If this was unclear, coaches are not allowed to talk to the players during the game. Players, during the match, while the match is happening, between maps, the coaches can talk. But during maps, the 6 players are on their own. You guys have headsets on, you have that kind of stuff. You can't see anything. No one has outside feedback. So it's just like you in your ranked game. They can talk to them between maps, so it's like, hey, you lose the map. Not between halves, as well, is an important distinction. Not between
Thank you very
halves,
much, Money.
between maps. So at halftime of Hanamura, where that attack didn't work, what do we do on defense? The coaches can't come in. They can't bring in an outside perspective. Only between maps. So that is very important. Atlanta not playing Diva on the next 2 maps. Limited Nira's ability on copy while Pelican shine. Yeah, I think the double shield is very good here. I think the way that they play it as well is very smart. Can the players talk about the game during pauses? That's a kind of finicky one. Technically, no, but I think it's very hard to stop players from talking. When we were in the Blizzard Arena, they used to cut off our mics. I think what happened was they couldn't stop players from doing it because it was very hard to monitor. And also the refs were just like, they didn't have the power of the players or that kind of stuff. They didn't, like, with Korean players, the refs weren't Korean, so they didn't know. So what they ended up doing was they ended up cutting comms. People couldn't, they cut the mics during breaks, but how do you stop players from talking in this current scenario? Like, it's very difficult. So, they're technically no, I think they try and monitor and they try and hinder it, but it is hard, yeah. Yeah, it's like, literally, we have these refs who are coming up to the players who are like, they see us talking, they're like, hey, stop talking. And you're like, yeah, sorry. And then you like sort of look at your teammates and you're like, but seriously, Diva, yeah, Diva? Yeah, okay, sweet. And they're like, we're players, right? We're competitive. We're at the highest level competitive. Wherever you can get an edge, you're going to go for an edge. Yeah, and these poor-ass refs that are stuck on the stage who don't really... Like, they obviously have power and that kind of stuff. Like, it's hard for them to give the refs a weapon to fucking give them, like, in the contracts, the Overwatch League contracts, they should be like, refs are allowed to slap you over the back of the head if they see you talking. Hey, I'm saying I would stop talking if the ref would just fucking whack me in the back of the head if they saw me talking during a pause. So maybe that's the solution. Give him a ball noodle. Just out of nowhere. Whack. Alright, but yeah, you guys see what I mean, right? But that's how it works. Pauses are a weird one. It's a very awkward one. But let's get back into it. Okay, so I hope that cleared it up for a few people who weren't sure about how coaches function within the Overwatch League during matches. Alright, so I really like this play by Atlanta here, right? They recognize that the Shock are actually playing very grouped up, which is interesting to me. But they're playing the Mei, and I don't like the Mei. If I'm being honest, I think in the East they play a lot more of this Mei. I feel like the Mei is good when you want to get that isolation, when you want to get the walls and the choke, But I feel like Atlanta reads this so well. Look at this. They send their Echo Mercy Diva around the point onto the point. Okay, so now you're like, okay, Shock, who are you gonna wall off now? And this forces Shock to make a decision, right? Do you rush the people in main and try and overwhelm with the superior numbers, or do you rush the people on point? But by rushing the people on point, they are opening up to like Kai, right? They're opening up to Kai and Gator and Iris to just shoot him in the back. So it's hard. And without the damage from the, like, think about how much damage Echo does and how much value Echo provides. They don't have that. They only have Strike on the Ashe. So we're gonna see the Shock make the decision, right? They try and go for the pull in main, go for the wall, doesn't get it down. They're losing ticks. Time's ticking. All of a sudden, Shock, you gotta make a decision, gotta make a decision. Alright, well, I guess, oh, that was, FDGod almost dies. I don't know why FDGod backs into this room, actually. That was dangerous by him. Who's he get shot by? Does he just get... Oh, he gets hard stuck. Okay, that's actually a good disengage. That was a good disengage by FDGod. He got stuck a bunch by Pelican. So here you see, the lamp gets put down just so they can cross the angle. Look at Iris and Gator just stepping up for free. Where the fuck's Kai? Kai is just playing Kovacs at this point. And they've already given up 2 ticks. And this... And then look, like, how do you come back from this if you're the San Francisco Shock? The shield's pretty good by Smurf. But at the end of the... Oh, wow, that's a couple of rare misses by Kai. Oh, that's a dynamite. Oh, shit. Just Bob. There it is. FDGod has nowhere to go. They're just... nobody is dealing with Kai. Nobody is dealing with Kai. And this is a consistent theme throughout the entirety of this match, where they try and either shut down Kai or they try and shut down Pelican, but they can't do both. And this is confusing to me. Why the San Francisco Shock decided to play the Mei on the first point is I feel like you're opening yourselves up very heavily to this kind of counter like the Atlanta Reign did. And maybe when they scrimmed and they played Mei, they never had an issue because no one ever came up with this solution, but it punished them so hard. Hey, cats. It punished them so hard in this match. And then, like, now Nero has Mei ult, and it's like, well, it's going to be very hard to get some value from this Mei ult. So yeah, and I think the biggest issue that they're just going to consistently have is they can't deal with Kai and Pelican at the same time. And then Gator, Hawk, Iris, and Masar are playing it perfectly as well, right? They're actually playing it straight up perfectly of understanding their role and understanding their win conditions. How do you counter the Reign during that point? You can't. The Shock, if you were on this point, if you wanted to counter the Shock, you need to have your own aggression. You need to have your own Echo Mercy holding up here. I think you want to put your own Echo Mercy holding up here, making it so that they can't come through this window for free. You can have Choi playing up here as well. This is how most people counter it. They have their Sigma up here, their Echo Mercy here with a 3-3 split, and then they play Orisa, Ashe, and Baptiste over here. Provides a crossfire, kind of like the one that the Reign set up, right? When they went to point and when they went to main. And then it makes it really hard for them to deal with any one piece because they have to deal with crossfires, right? So, and that's something that Atlanta Reign does so well, and you'll see consistently, right? Kai and Pelican are always on different angles, which provides it whenever the Shock try and deal with one, they get punished by the other. And that is one of the reasons FDGod gets punished so hard, is they heavily focus on trying to shut down Kai, and that just opens the door for Pelican. So we'll keep watching, and then hopefully we can prove my point right, because I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think that was the assumption that I took away from it. Mei makes no sense. I don't think it makes no sense. This is a great wall by Nero. Honestly, phenomenal wall. Expecting this to come. The bongo goes down. FDGod drops a Valk. I don't think FDGod really needed to Valk at this point. This is a little early of a Valk for my liking. Like, I understand why he Valks. They bongo, they bob, but I don't think it's necessary. Like, I would just wait until you need to have that range and that thing. And then I think we've all seen this a bunch of times. FDGod just a damage boosted bob and like all the I think he's underestimating the damage. The damage boosted bob with the, like, literally a Mercy and a bongo damage boosted bob. Like, he's assuming he's immortal because when you're a moth, you usually are in the air, but this is like, he's going up against the one person who's an AI that doesn't miss. So this Bob just murders him. And I don't know why he doesn't go down here. Maybe he's afraid of Pelican, but he needs to get out of LOS, decides late, and just gets punished for that. But yeah, that's it, right? Like, but that's a good heads up play by Rain, right? The Bongo Bob, right? Like, they understand their win conditions. Once again, Hawk does this time and time again, forces objectives, understands that the Shock don't want to deal with him. Nero throws a great mayout, and this really is a great mayout. And this is why it frustrates me when people say that, like, Nero is trash and got no values. Like, I honestly think Nero played a solid game. I really do. As much as I don't like the May pick, I think he plays solid, like, the whole way through. And I think he has the whole time, so I feel like it's just salty Shock fans just looking for someone to blame that wasn't on their precious 2-time championship team. It's so easy to blame Nero or FDGod when things are going wrong because they're the new guys. But I think Nero's been playing very well, and I think a lot of people are... And then Kai's just killing everyone, right? Let's watch this back from Kai's perspective. Oh, like, why did Violet jump? Right? Like, it's the same thing, right? Like, if you're gonna be mad at FDGod, Violet has been just as bad so far. Like, they both had wasted ults, they both had weird positioning that get them picked. Like, why did Violet jump there? Gets punished by Violet, by Kai. So just uncharacteristic mistakes. Kai burns them down. Choi tries to flux to control, get some control, but boom.
Score 0-2. Switching.
FDGod had a bad game, but people are shitting on him too hard. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do here. I want to try and educate people, like, you know, that failed beat. Like, for FDGod, the only mistake I think FDGod made, he had a little bit of an early beat on that first shrine, and the other one where he beat it to try and re-engage, but we explained those, right? Edmeister, thank you very much for Prime Sub. That one was another, like, this was the other mistake that FDGod made. Like, he's made a couple of mistakes, but everyone's made some mistakes so far in this match for the Shock. So I'm just trying to educate and just try and, like, explain the whole situation, right? So they teleport into the room. Really cool setup by the San Francisco Shock. They're going to play this Lucio Mora style. And here's why Hanamura is hard for the Lucio Mora is...
Hi Custa, just joining stream now. What's our conclusion? Have other teams leveled the fuck up, or is the hubris of the individual Shock players getting in the way and causing some mistakes, or perhaps just a bad game?
I think everyone else leveled up. And we're seeing, and that's forcing mistakes out of the Shock that they've generally never been punished for. That is generally what I think the major difference is for the Shock, is I think everyone else is just getting better. The Dallas Fuel, the Atlanta Reign right now. I think the Gladiators, there's so many good teams in the West right now, that Houston Outlaws. I think everyone's leveling up, and Shock are getting punished for things that they haven't been punished for before, and they're being made look like what they make other people look like historically in the past. I don't think Shock have got drastically worse. I think Nero's been phenomenal for the Shock, and I think FDGod's been making mistakes, but I think there's definitely some synergy issues going on here. It's definitely not the Shock got drastically worse. And remember, they have a lot of pressure on them, right? They're the 2-times. They need to perform. But yeah, thank you very much to Dollar Davey. Bulgarian, thank you for the 41 months. The problem with the San Francisco Shock comp here is, right, when you're going to play this Lucio Mora, the biggest issue you're going to run into is you're going to give Pelican and Kai the ability to take shots. I also don't know why Nero isn't with the squad here. I don't know if this is like a set play of why Nero's not in. I don't know if Nero should have given himself away, but Atlanta reacts perfectly to this, right? So look at this. Gator comes in and forces so much positioning from Nero, right? He's gonna have to go get this mini. He's probably gonna go grab another mega. But not only that, we're about to see Pelican go run at him. I'm pretty sure. If I remember this correctly, they're like, oh, you want to go to point? That's fine. Okay, so he doesn't. But look at how much damage and pressure they're applying to Nero that makes it so he can't do anything. They give a couple of ticks. The Shock trying to force this positioning from Kai. Very well done, honestly. Oh, Choi just gets a little bit aggressive. And I think Choi definitely made some mistakes in this match as well, right? Yeah, he shouldn't have gone that way. Like, this is... As much as that was a crazy play and, like, the amount of damage come from the rain, like, Choi shouldn't have gone that way. That was a mistake by Choi. He should not have... He's challenging the Atlanta Rain and Pelican specifically. Like, they just punish that, right? So there's a mistake from Choi as well, right? Like, he's... Striker gets punished and all of a sudden they're stuck in first point. They need to get out of there and that's done. Alright, so this time they're in, and Nero follows them in. So 6 in here, Pelican gives it a look. That kind of stuff. Now they run into the issues though, because as much as they have cold, Pelican has copy, right? It's gonna give them a lot of space. And look at how aggressive they have to be just to get this out. They actually coal before, as they're like up here, just to get themselves and close the distance. Pelican switches over to the Winston, gets the primal, being very disruptive. I actually don't mind the Winston switch here because they're grouping up as a 6-man unit. And as we said, Kai is free shooting. Like let's have a look at what Kai does during this while this happens, right? Sorry, that was on 0.25 speed, right? They have to deal with Pelican. Kai gets left open, right? Because they trade ults. And now all of a sudden they have to wait for Smurf again. Oh, that was a bad Bob. He definitely wanted that on the point. It actually might be okay because it's going to be really fucking annoying to deal with. But I think they would prefer to have that on the point. Smurf is kind of isolating himself here, which I'm not 100% sure I agree with. He's going to get primal. Jungle was a little off by Smurf. Oh my god. Wait, what? Deleted. What? Who is it Kai? Oh, he shot him through the window. The Bob and Kai were shooting, and the Diva were shooting him through the window. So that they had double damage. Damn, that's insane. Smurf gets deleted for that. Yeah, the Bob through the window because Bob's here shooting him, but Smurf ended up on this side of the window, so everyone's doing double damage. Do it from Smurf's Bob? You want to see it from Smurf's Bob? Look at this. Yeah, that didn't last very long. Iris 5-head? I don't think that was planned. I don't think that was About damage boost? Yeah, it was just crazy damage. That's not really Smurf's fault. I don't think you can prepare for that. Alright, so Shocker finally getting their first, like, serious ult cycle with the Nero copy, so they're gonna jump in main. So they're just gonna run it down. Thank you very much, money. They're using the beat early to give them that space. I like that they didn't overlap the Cole and the beat. The Nero copy goes out. Good play by Nero. Just overrunning. As much as it cost him his ult, that overrunning that gator there is really good. SARS 1. Alright. It's a good play by the Shock. And that was just them having an excess of ults, being able to use them and just run at them, right? That was FDGod's mistake, Cap, man. So that's what I'm gonna watch this from. I'm gonna watch this from Pelican perspective, right? Because if I remember correctly, you're about to see the world's freest Echo run around the map.
Team up for special attack.
I'm really confused why the shock engage onto the Diva. Are they just trying to get to here? They're not even really going for that. I don't even really know what the plan is here. Why are they... Like, it's not bad. I guess they got the bongo out and they get the mech, but I don't really understand the plan there. But Hawk living here is insane. That literally cost them Diva Bomb. Like, that cost them Choi's Diva Bomb, and Hawk gets his mech back. Okay. So the Bob goes down by Kai. Like, what is the plan here on this shock dive, right? Like, I don't really understand what the win condition here was by the shock, right? Like, let's like, they jump to the point, which is fine. And I guess Striker's TPing up here, so they're playing for a death blossom, but like, they have to know they're running into a meat grinder of some sort, right? I guess they bob back, so it just makes it almost impossible. But yeah, they were never really gonna get a whole lot done with that dive. Everyone on the lane is so split, and that's the way they're gonna play, right? That is why, like, this rush comp is really hard against this dive, and we were talking about this on... I don't know, I think it's the Gladiators who were doing the same thing against the rush, but Gladiators were playing so passive. If you're gonna play this comp, you want to really split up and diversify, right? So they play their Orisa Bap up here, their Diva plays up around here with their Echo, and then their Ashe plays down here alone, right? So you can't deal with every single threat as the Shock are trying to deal with, so they need to isolate one, right? But they need to get on Kai, because Kai is gonna be essentially free, and I think Shock is starting to realize that. It's the adaptation, right? They're gonna go top left. And I love how aggressive Gator and Hawk are playing, right? They're playing it so smart. They need to be aggressive. They need to be forcing positioning because they need to force cooldowns from the Shock. They need to force things to come out from them and give them more time so they can't just run and dive on the backline. This is what the Houston Outlaws heavily messed up on. Forces the coalescence somewhat early. I also want to highlight this because I actually think this is a big disconnect that we've been seeing in this. Violet, when he presses coalescence, is heavily focused on the front line and doing damage and stuff like that, right? So look, he's doing damage, he's doing that kind of stuff. Look at what happens from Nero's perspective. There's a problem there. There's been a miscommunication somewhere along the line. Nero doesn't help. Violet doesn't help Nero, right? He even said, yeah, he even pressed X of, hey, heal me. So it cost the San Francisco Shock everything to get onto this backline, right? So it cost them their coal, it cost them their primal, it cost them their Diva Bomb. Oh, well, not their Diva Bomb, but yeah. So the Atlanta Reign are just sort of slowing this down with their ultimates. Great death blossom by Striker, but he's kind of stuck in a corner now. And they can't punish it enough, right? It costs them too much to get onto the backline, but they're not getting enough. Losing Nero early there is a big problem. Kai's still doing work, and they can't get onto the backline, right? Nero shouldn't have peeked. What do you want? Okay. Let me hit that. Let me hit that point on the head. Nero shouldn't have peeked. What do you want him to do? So he asks for heals. He sees his Moira drop down. What does he do? What do you want him to do here? Like both of his healers just engaged. He can't just stay here. I think maybe Unlucky Pelican sees him, but even then what does he do? Run for a mega? Run down here, but even then he is peeking as well. If he runs into Gator, he just dies. Yeah, I think he was hoping if he came out late, he wouldn't get seen, but Pelican... And this is the point that I was talking about as well, right? The Shock are so focused on trying to get onto the backline, right? That Pelican's just like... Especially with this copy, he's just like, oh, okay, yeah. He's literally just chilling. No one's really looking at him. As soon as they turn to look at him, he copies. And then he just off angles, right? Because he knows even if the Shock try to turn and dive him, he's enabling Kai, right? So they can't deal with both, and it costs them everything to deal with both when they like eventually do get Pelican. But him dying turns the tide. But okay, but what we're telling you, Trippy Triangle, is so he's 1 health. Both of his healers are downstairs, so he's not going to get healed from his healers. There's no packs anywhere near here. What is your solution then, right? If you think, okay, shouldn't have peeked, shouldn't have done that, what should he do? He's 25 health, hiding in the stairwell. Neither of his healers are around him. Duplicate will heal him. He's at 90% ult charge. He has to peek to take a shot. He's at 90% during the time. I can go back and show you, but he's at 90% of the time. I remember checking to see if he had dupe. Pelican realized he was still there. Yeah. So okay. Yes, Pelican realized he's still there. What is the play then? Okay. I understand there's a lot of people saying this doesn't work, and this happens all the time in Overwatch. People, like, especially fans of this doesn't work. It's like, okay, well, what's the solution to the problem? Why not call for an echo? He calls for a heal. Nero calls for a heal in the stairways. He gets low. I assume he calls in voice, or he also presses the voice line. But at that point, Violet's already down there. He has to peek. It's like, I understand that it's frustrating and it's annoying that he just peeks and dies, but I don't think he had a better solution to what he did. I think he late peeks like he did, and then he hopes he can like throw some sticky bombs and get a little bit of charge and then get the copy, right? That's the solution. I think it was just a disconnect of like the engage with the Shock, and I think Nero just took too much damage the last thing. It's just unfortunate. More realistically than anything, but it's unfortunate, but I honestly don't even know if it's either of their faults. Like, Nero, he called for heals, he took damage, but then Violet was already down. Violet wasn't expecting him to take that much damage, so drop down. It's not one's real fault. Like, you don't have to blame someone. It's just unfortunate. Just unlucky, as a famous streamer would say. It's not someone, it doesn't always have to be someone's fault. Sometimes shit just happens. So once again, we got the exact same setup, right? We got the scarier thing here now.
You think Shock should have maybe tried to play Doom, Genji, or Ana like Shock against that?
I assume you mean like Dallas? I think there's value in playing the Doomfist, but I think like all of a sudden you'd need Nero to play Doomfist over the Striker. I don't think you can just wing a Doomfist adaptation. But I also don't think the Doomfist, I don't think the Doomfist works anywhere near as well against the way that Rain are playing it. I think it works very well against the way that Gladiators were playing, where they were playing like a Brig Bap. But with a Mercy Echo, Doomfist feels very bad. So I don't know if it would work against the comp that Atlanta is playing. And it's sort of the Sparkle situation. So we don't 100% know. Shock need to play this Doom like Shock, yeah. But yeah. Thank you very much for money. Thank you for the bits. Can you teach Reinforce about bold predictions, saying it's supposed to be something you believe may happen, but Reinforce throws shit he doesn't believe? What do you mean? He does believe it. He got the first bold prediction right. Also, bold predictions are really annoying. It's just hard to do. Is Pelican the best Echo in the June Joust? I think he's been playing some of the best. I think Sparkle's also been very good. Fletter's been good. So, I don't know. It's kind of hard. But yeah, look at this. So, but Marsar can stay here because he has Valk this time, right? He can play in the middle ground, but look at how free Pelican is, once again. So this time they're forcing Kai out, and then they beat engage. That's good, but unfortunately, they don't want to chase Kai into the room. Look at Pelican, dude. This guy's actually just playing against, it's like he's in the practice range, just like shooting. He doesn't
Adaptive circuits
have to do a whole lot, and then he eventually just gets the free copy. And all of that time, they were unable to punish Kai as well. And that's, I honestly think the Shock comp, with how well the Reign are playing it, the Shock comp just doesn't beat it. The Shock are trying to force this comp, and it doesn't work. And that's why you see minor adaptations from the field, because I think they start to recognize that. But they're kind of like forcing their head into this solution. But they can't deal with Kai and Pelican at the same time.
Seconds remaining.
I like that bomb. Didn't get much value, but I actually like that. Pelican, once again, getting the opening pick. Yeah, Pelican just feels like he's playing this game for free right now.
Victory.
Shock keep rushing Gator as well because Kai and Pelican are playing so safe. I think they needed to make an adaptation. I almost like would have preferred to see them go to the Echo Reaper but copy, like, try and, like, sorry, they were playing Echo Reaper. I would prefer to see them go, like, the Echo Reaper, but play it and change the style of, maybe just switch your Winston. Or, like, just, I don't even know. Maybe switching Winston isn't the solution. They need to do something that is going to solve the problem, because I don't exactly know what it is right now without changing a majority of the comp. Like, almost just go their own shields. They potentially could have gone their own Orisa and that kind of stuff, because what they were doing wasn't working. There needed to be some adaptation there. I don't know if you can just change one thing, it'll work. Like, they just, and that is why I'm so high on this Atlanta Reign team, right? Pelican's built different on this Echo, and he's getting so much value, especially when they're pocketing him with Masar. Kai is very smart in the way he plays the hit scan, that he's such a threat that you have to deal with him. Gator and Hawk understand that they are the bait, and they are just playing aggressive, they are playing smart, and they're making it so that the teams have to run through them to get to the backline. Iris is working very well with Kai, and then Masar's doing everything that's needed of him. Atlanta is literally playing so well across the board, and that is why I'm so hyping them. I actually think I have them as my number one going into this. I think if they can play like they did this weekend against the Shock, I don't know if anyone can beat them. And I think I think one of the few teams that could beat them is either Shanghai matches up better against them because Shanghai have the same kind of players in their arsenal, or the Dallas Fuel just fucking do it again and somehow make Lucio and Moira work where no one else can. But it's also very map dependent as well, right? That is a great map. That second point. Thank you very much, great map for Reign's comp. So if they can't force that everywhere, right? Bees Buzz, thank you for the 100 bits. Thank you very much for money. I think Fuel's rush overwhelms them. It's hard to say yes or no. I keep being like, nah, Atlanta look too good. They're not going to be able to get over these guys. No way. They can't beat the Houston Outlaws. Houston Outlaws comps looks good. Fucking rolls over the Houston Outlaws. Ah, yeah, but you know, that's the Houston Outlaws, okay? Now Dallas Fuel have to play... Wait, who the Dallas Fuel just... which game did we just review? We just reviewed, now they have to play against the Gladiators. Ah, Gladiators shield comp is too good. They can't beat the Gladiators. Beat the Gladiators. Well, okay. It's fine. Atlanta Reign, their shield comps are too good with Kai and Pelican. There's no way they'll make it work. I believe that every time I watch Dallas Fuel have to play against a team. And somehow they make it work. So I believe in the Reign, but fuck, man. Dallas Fuel is meta, like Sparkle said. It's hard to know.
4, 3.
He is literally without fear.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
If Atlanta wins the June Joust, does that make Boston good? No. Just because you got demolished by them, just like everyone else, does not mean you are just as good as everyone else. Give me Mike Obium. Sure, yeah, sure. Boston is equivalent to the San Francisco Shock. They're the same team essentially. I think we should just give Boston 2 trophies at this point, just because they also lost to the Atlanta Reign in the Warpath.
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Dragon Wolf, thank you very much for 18 months. Woot, up to 18 months of wonderful Custa time. Oh, yeah. So let's talk about this map. We're obviously going over to Hollywood. This is a pretty hard rush map. It's hard to get value out of the rush because there's a lot of high grounds, a lot of defensible positions. So the Shock put in the boy Super, who's kind of stuck in Orisa jail with Reinhardt being out of the meta. But Super comes in, Glista comes in to play the hit scan, and FDGod is now on the Mercy. So let's sort of break this down because this is a very different setup, right? So we're going to see Kai come and play the Hanzo on the first point as well. Hopefully get some positioning. Alright. Custa, this may be a hot take, but Shock seem to be a step behind a lot of time, but they make up for it with their extremely high level talent and teamwork. How are they a step behind if they make it up, if they have high level and teamwork? How are they behind? In what aspect? Are you talking about team fight aspect? Like, what? How are they behind if they have the high level teamwork and talent, like you said? Coordination, but isn't that teamwork? We must turn around and see them. I think Shock are washed up at this point and they missed the 2 Hawaii trips. No, I think Shock... It can't be understated that Shock have been beaten by just incredible teams. And it's not the fact that Shock are washed. I just think people caught up. I legitimately just think people caught up. We keep saying time and time again, and that needs to be reiterated. The league has gotten better across the board, not just at the bottom end, but at the top end. There are so many teams that on paper are able to compete with the San Francisco Shock. Historically, when you looked at San Francisco Shock's roster, it's like they are some of the best in every single role. I don't think that is true anymore because so many great players have come up and popped into different teams and consolidated on those teams as well. The Dallas Fuel, look at, they consolidated a bunch of great talent from Paris. They consolidated Fearless. They got all these great talent. They got great coaching. They're now Dallas, and that's why they're so dominant. Atlanta Reign has, done a great job of consolidating. They got Kai and Pelican. They added to a lot of these other great players, and everyone stepped up on the Atlanta Reign. They're doing great. Houston Outlaws consolidated a lot of great talent. All these kind of things. The Shock just haven't upgraded as much. Like FDGod and Nero, I would say, are like side grades to their counterparts that they replaced. So Shock can't go higher. They already have the best in a lot of their roles, or theoretically the best. They're not leveling up while everyone else around them is getting better, and that's what it is. Is the Shock they're being caught, so now they're having to work harder to stay in, and unfortunately they're falling short in the May Melee and the summer and the June Joust now. It's not a slight against the Shock. It's a testament to all the other teams. And also, that's a great point actually by Dan the Duck. They lost a lot of their coaches, right? A lot of their assistant coaches got promoted to become head coaches of teams that they're now competing against that are leveling up, right? So there's only so long, when you have this top end of talent, there's a reason no one ever stays on top forever, right? These are the reasons why, right? Like all of those things. People want to go into a role where they're now the superstar, like the coaches. People get better players and keep improving while your players, like you're supposed to have the best team. You can't go on a dynasty like that long. There's a reason in competition no one ever stays at the top because everything always changes. Hot take, Al is slowly becoming a massive following of Krusty. Trust me, man. I don't want to call a lot of people out, but I'm gonna. There's gonna be a lot less San Francisco Shock fans if they keep losing tournaments because hey, there's a lot of bandwagoners. There's a lot of people that only want to be following the top team. I'm just saying, Dallas Fuel's gaining a lot of fans, and San Francisco Shock is losing a lot of fans right now. I don't know, bandwagoners ? But yeah, it's sort of how things go. So. Alright. Let's see. So we got double step up. So we got a lot of damage now, right? So we're playing double shield versus double shield. Completely different game. Let's get back into the review. So window down. Violet hasn't used his yet. Lena does a good job of getting positioning. Gator gets caught. Playing too aggressive. Good job, good job. That was just, the window didn't get enough value from the Atlanta Rain. Shot come back with theirs. They managed to get a punish on the Gator. It's also interesting that they are playing the Hanzo. Hanzo's very hit and miss, right? I don't hate the Hanzo. It's just like you live and die based on the fact of whether or not Kai's going to hit shots, right? Great flux. Great pull flux by Super and Choi.
Engaged. Sigma.
Nero turns into the Sig. I don't really like this. I feel like Shock are going too aggressive too early, right? I feel like they're forced. Like, this one's okay. I don't mind this flux. This flux is fine. Get the potential to get a kill. I don't love it, but it's fine, right? I think this copy by Nero is sort of gambling. And here's one of the ones where FDGod dies, where people are like, oh my god, FDGod, stop dying first. How does Pelican get away with this? Dude, Pelican, I swear, had an invisibility cloak. Like, his model wasn't loading into the server. Look at this. It's not even like he shoots it from the side. He's literally behind FDGod. FDGod should probably be keeping an eye out for it, but that doesn't mean it's 100% his fault, right? FDGod gets punished for free, Pelican gets behind. And not only that, right, someone should be watching it. We just had Choi and Nero and one less Super use their ults and get no value out of it, right? Because they went too early. That's not for FDGod's fault. Glista should also be keeping an eye for it. Yeah, exactly. So they lost their positioning because of they've used all their ults. Like, Shock literally have negative ults to deal with this, right? So the FDGod's coming back with Valk. Violet has to use a window, but it's not an ideal window. You don't really want to have it here for this reason. I was literally about to say because you can get halted down. Choi gets pulled down. Just big plays. They lost positioning. And this is just blown wide open by Pelican. I don't agree with the use of the Bob. I was questioning the Bob, but I also question the use of the Valk by FDGod.
Heroes never die.
Like, and here's why. And I think FDGod has definitely been struggling on the Mercy. So I don't want to... I'm not shitting on him like a lot of other people are. This is just like feedback. He did this earlier in the series as well. There is nothing about this situation where he comes up here and which makes me think, I need to Valk here. It feels like he's using Valk preemptively instead of, oh, I need to get over there really fast, so I should Valk. Someone over here needs healing, I need to Valk. I need to res over here, I need to get Valk. I need to get back really fast, I need Valk. He presses the Valk, and there's nothing for him to gain. If he had Valked right there where he saw Choi getting low and he needs to contest the point, all for it. But he pops it, like, I think just a little bit preemptively for my liking. That doesn't really, like, make it valuable, right? Hopefully, yeah, and hopefully he learns from it, right? Like, there's a lot of things, like, as I said, he's not an unsolvable Mercy. He's not, like, he has poor mechanics. I think just some of his decision making from time to time. Oh, no! I think he should have gone straight for the res as well. Kai looks like, oh, actually, he ended up getting value out of it, but yeah, that's over.
Objective lost.
He's seen better on Mercy. As I said, he's not a bad Mercy. I think he's just been, it's also one of those situations, you know, once you get in your head, it's like when you're aiming, right? The same thing happens for Mercy. People think it's like, Mercy mechanics are easy thing. It's the exact same thing with Mercy. As soon as you get punished a couple of times, you start overthinking your position, you start overthinking decisions, you start making mistakes, you start doing that. And that's how I feel like FDGod is at this point with his Mercy. He's in his head about what he's doing. And the reason Mercy is so hard in Overwatch League, and the reason Jake tweeted, yo, Mercy's kind of lit. At the highest level of Overwatch League, Mercy is so much fun to play because it is so punishing. It's all about risk versus reward. It's all about pushing the envelope. It's all about getting that little bit of extra value, squeezing it out without getting punished. And that's what makes it really hard. And that's what makes it super fun as well, playing Mercy at the highest level. Alright, so now that they're going to really struggle to get positioning, look at this positioning that they've already gotten. They've got everyone on the high ground. Shocker trying to get it, like Super just loses a shield. What happens here? Oh, he shouldn't have gone that high. Oh, that was unfortunate. He had a, yeah, that was also a very unfortunate death. He got body shot for like 170 damage. But he shouldn't have gone that high. Oh, webcam a little bit, so that's my camera. It's actually a very nice camera. It doesn't get blurry. It was a little out of focus. Because I was leaning. The punishing thing about Mercy as well when you play it is you're the only person who can res, but you can't res yourself. Maybe they should buff Mercy so you can res yourself. Chat. See, we're just coming up with solutions to fix Mercy right now. What if you could res yourself if it was on cooldown when you died? Yeah? See? What do we think? Yeah? Finally someone brave enough to say it. I will advocate for this, don't worry. There we go. Perfect. I'll talk to Aaron about it. Good dragon. Shocker playing very aggressive without a whole lot of advantages because they didn't have the Mercy. This feels like a weird thing, right? So their Mercy's dead. Like, look at this disconnect from the Shock here. So they're getting punished. They got to go back. Okay, fine. This is fine. Gliss is all the way back. I don't know. Wait, where's the 6th player? Glister, Mercy. Where's Nero? Oh, okay. Yeah. So here's my problem with that with this step up, right? Like they step up to contest the card, but look at where their Ashe Mercy are. They're so far away, and Nero's on an off angle, so he'll be able to help. But by trying to contest here, it feels like they're forcing the issue. They try and get a punish. Like maybe they were just going for a quick pick, but it didn't really feel like that because Super went super aggressive. Forces their lamp. The dragon creates a massive punish. Pelican gets a great copy in the room, and then all of a sudden Violet doesn't have pocketing. So they're on a completely different wavelength, and they get punished for free on that one. Choi goes down as well. Now they're just getting overrun, and these are the kind of things that we don't usually see from the San Francisco Shock. And FDGod gets isolated late as well. Yeah, I'm curious to know like why this is falling apart, because Shock are usually better than this, right? They're usually very smart and coordinated players, but that just like that feels like they're not in sync, and maybe that's the issue that the Shock are having overall, right? Like FDGod and Glister, that's their job to communicate, right? We're not there. Like we're back in 10 seconds. Like your pocket's back in 10 seconds. We're back 5 seconds out. And then like when they're saying we're going, you need to tell them to slow down and stuff like that. It feels like that's a disconnect that right there, right? And but that ends up costing them the fight and the point. So Super runs out. He has to be the one to contest the card. Choi uses his ult, but I don't want to say he's dead, but it seems rather likely that he's not going to make it out there. So Choi, and here's another one, right? Choi forces his way out of this room to try and get a contest, but Super's already there. Super drops Bongo, but Choi's dead. Cost Super everything to touch. And they're just saying, and here's another one, right? Of like, at what point do you start cutting losses, right? Like, okay, look at where we are, right? And this is a pretty classic scenario. We've all been here before. A couple of players are raising. Nero's not even alive yet, right? Look at where the cart's at. They're 3xing. Okay, they're moving fast. They're going to have positioning. They're going to have high ground. When do you make the call of we shouldn't engage? Like, here we go. Like, let's sort down of where the card is in the grand scheme of things. What about this scenario is like, yeah, we should really try and force this. And they're going to come out and they're going to blow the only 2 ults that they have off the bat. They're hoping for a miracle, being realistic, right? Of like, where's Nero at this point? Nero's here, Gliss is here. By the time that the Supers already have to force himself onto the card and Choi's on the card, they've already almost lost the fight. They would have been way better off consolidating and just being like, GG, go third, come in with those ultimates, because now...
Reached the checkpoint.
Because now they have no ultimates. And this is why I keep saying these feel like uncharacteristic mistakes. that the Shock are doing of like, they're just not, it doesn't feel like they feel like they're panicked. And I never feel like you ever see the San Francisco Shock panicked. So, just some weird mistakes. Seems like what happened in their Fuel game. Yeah, and Fuel do that. They're upping they like to up the tempo. But this isn't really the Dallas Fuel upping the tempo. This is the San Francisco Shock. This is a very slow style of playing the game, and it feels like San Francisco Shock is rushing to do everything, right? FDGod gets punished. Just a little open. It's opened up a little bit too much. So he wanted to get up there. That's kind of unfortunate. I'll give him that. Alright, so the fight's over. Go, GG, go next. And yeah, you guys open up the question, right? Of is the difference between, so obviously I think we can all agree coming into this change, we were like, FDGod is, I think, mechanically a better player than Moth. And I think we can all agree to that. I think FDGod just is mechanically better, at least on Lucio. Let's go with Lucio for that. But Moth communication, I think, cannot be understated. And I wonder if that is a massive hole that they're feeling right now of losing Moth, and the communication structure that he brought to the team could easily be one of the fundamental issues of why Shock are struggling. Because you can't, calling is so important, and the way that you function and flow as a team. Like, let's say, like, let's go all the way back to that idea when we were talking about on second point. Would Moth have been the person making that call of like, hey, come back. Like, I'm not there yet. And that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I don't have the answer if that is, the proof is in the pudding, but we just don't know. But it feels like that's what I'm starting to see, right? As much as there are individual mistakes that we're seeing right now, like Violet gets picked so late there as well, which is awful. It's not just individual mistakes, it's also team synergy and coordination. It feels very out of sync right now.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Glissa gets murdered by Pelican, and it's once again, it feels like Pelican has an invisibility cloak. And look at this, because I remember watching this live.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Never die.
Dude hasn't even been looked at. The definition of an invisibility cloak. No one knows where he is. He's just sitting in the corner, just outputting so much damage.
Score 0-3. Switching sides.
TNT's himself? Fuck it, dude. He was getting knocked out soon anyway. Tell me what Nero did, if anything, this map. Alright, but how do you watch this and be like, Nero did nothing this map? Yeah, I don't think it's been Nero's fault at all. I haven't seen anything that's been Nero's fault. The things that Nero did poorly, he used his Echo Copy to try and get value out of the Choi Hyobin Flux, because Super and Choi Hyobin decided to go early with their Flux, and then the flank comes out by Pelican and gets value, right? Then all of Atlanta Rain gets pushed up here. FDGod gets picked as Mercy and dies, okay? So as they're trying to take space. Then what happens, so Nero's on the flank over here while that's happening, trying to wait for the reset. While Nero's waiting over here on this off angle, Super, Choi, and Violet go for it to try and touch the cart while it's only 3 of them. They get punished, Violet dies, Choi dies, and they get caught in this really bad spot. Nero can't really do a whole lot in that situation. We come into this recontest. Nero's actually dead because he was on the off angle when his whole team died. The whole team comes back and they decide to commit ultimates and go in early and get mistakes before Nero's even in the situation. So they waste ults, they lose, and then they die. Then we go over to this point. FDGod dies for first fight, and then everyone has to disengage, everyone dies, and then we go into this final fight. Then we go into the final fight territory, and I actually don't know what Nero did in the final fight. But There we go. Tell me what Nero did wrong. Instead of telling me what Nero did right, tell me what Nero did wrong. If you're gonna say someone's shit, don't say what did they do, say what they didn't do. As much as Nero didn't help the team be massively successful, he was also not the core issue or the major problem. And people keep just like ragging on these players without any context of anything. It wasn't Nero's fault. Like, it's a team issue. It's not like Choi Hyobin, Violent, and Super, the two-time champions, are like, yeah, they're playing completely flawlessly and solidly. That was their mistake. When they decided to step up into this, to touch this point, the rest of the team wasn't there. That's on them. When Choi and Super decided to re-engage on this second point, that's on them. They decided to go early. The people that all these Shock fans apparently love and the new people who are terrible for this team are not, that's not the story of why the Shock are failing. The team is struggling as a whole. I don't know exactly whether it's communication, synergy, maybe just some of these differences of play styles coming in. They need to work at it. They need to fix that. But it is not one individual player's fault on this team right now. There is not a single player that I can point at and be like, this person needs to do more. And this is what happens. Sorry, I'm on a rant, but this is what happens when you have fans that are used to just perfection, right? Because that's what the Shock are, perfection. Guess what? Welcome to being a Dallas Fuel or a Houston Outlaws fan for the last 3 years. That is what it is like, watching your teammates just run around and make mistakes. That's the way the rest of the league plays and competes. It's gonna be fine, Shock fans. You guys have a great roster, you guys have great coaching, they'll come out of this. And it's not even like Shock suck. They're not even last. They're like, we came third? Ridiculous. Who are we gonna fire? We need to fire someone. Like, it's Shock are playing well. They're much improved from the May Melee. They're improving, they're doing a good job. And as much as they fell short against the Reign, people aren't giving enough credit to the Atlanta Reign, because I think Atlanta Reign, talking about perfect play, I think they're playing perfectly right now. And I think their synergy and their coordination is on another level. In this meta, playing this double shield style. And that is where the Shock are failing, is because they feel like they're having to force things because they're going up against very flawless play. We should do like a fan swap. You know how they do, like, back in the days, they used to do wife swaps? We should do a fan swap. Be like, okay, San Francisco Shock fans, we're gonna do a switcheroo, okay? You're gonna be a fan of the LA Valiant, just for a couple of months. Let's give that a try. Maybe just a stage, okay? We'll just get you in the life of the LA Valiant, okay? How does that sound, okay? Yeah, you have to watch all of their games, okay? And you have to cheer as well while it's happening. And then an LA Valiant fan will be like, oh, I've been waiting. I've seen shit, dude. I watched Valiant blow out of the 2018 finals. I watched them go 0-7 in 2019. I saw us rebrand in 2020, literally sell all of our players, but then we ended up being good. That was sweet. And then we moved to China and we lost every single Western piece of our roster, and now we are 0-8 and really struggling. Try being a Valiant fan. Good shit, Malone Run. Alright, back to the review. Back to the review. Hard times, yeah. Try being a Boston fan, yeah. Boston fan. There's been a lot of teams that have gone through a lot of things. Every team has gone through everything. The few teams that haven't gone through like hardships is like, maybe you can say the Shock if you don't consider season 1. Everyone else has seen some shit. Oh, Gladiators actually being a Gladiators fan would, now actually mention it, being a Gladiators fan must be alright. You don't win anything, but they've always been solid. Yeah, must be nice to be a Glads fan. Philly? Yeah, but Philly, you have to deal with the hardship of being closer. At least Glads, you never really had the expectation that you were gonna win. Like, they were always really good, but you never expected. As a Philly fan, man, that's like, I don't know if I could handle being a Philly fan. So close yet so far, yeah, just permanently second. I don't know if I'd rather just constant disappointment. At least don't get my expectation up. Yeah, NYXL fans. Oh, NYXL fans have seen shit, dude. NYXL fans, nah, they've gone through it. All right, let's get back to it. So, all right, so let's catch another one of these. So what happens here? Nero goes aggressive. FDGod follows. He gets caught by the dynamite on the way up. He's okay. Oh, that's not even really his fault. I don't really like playing over this roof, if anything. That's kind of... He hid the best way possible, because I don't think he could have gone up without exposing himself. I think, if anything, I think it should be more of a thing of they should be playing over this way. But that's a hard position to be in. That was good play by Atlanta Reign, right? I don't know if, yeah, like, if that's the setup, that's fine, but you have to be willing to accept that as a potential loss. Or Violet gets murdered on the way forward. What happened here as well? It's not Nero. I wouldn't say it's Nero's fault. If this is the plan and the strategy that the team wants to go with the Echo Mercy, it's the risk that you're taking. It's a team risk, right? If you're going to go, hey, we're going to crossfire on the off angle. If it is Nero's decision, then he's just as responsible as FDGod. But as I said, these things are generally planned. When you're going to attack this, let's crossfire, let's set these things up. That's on them, right? It's a great pull and great play by, like, the quarter, like, as much as we talk about FDGod's dead again, are we not going to talk about how great that pull was from Gator with the synergy of Hawk to hit it and then everybody else to follow up on it as well? Like, let's look at this from their perspective, right? He sees him. He doesn't even know he's going for the Mercy at this point. He pulls it. Great synergy from Hawk with the rock. There's the follow-up. That's just clean tank play. That's clean tank play right there. Hawk ends up getting punished for that extension. Violet opens up a lot and gets punished there as well. Oh, Shock Duo. Atlanta does a good job of consolidating here. So I think the problem is Shock just don't have any healers anymore, right? So they're just slowly bleeding out. So losing both healers is a big problem. Good consolidation by Reign, right? Like if they tried to force that fight, they would have died too fast. Yeah, and Pelican just once again, like, talking about people setting up the off angle. Like, let's watch it from Pelican perspective. The Invisible Man. Okay, Gliss is keeping him honest. Twister is keeping him honest, but once he hits this angle, yeah, no one's really checking him out. Guys, there you go. Sam, you want to go out? Ah, I just headbutt my mic. You want to go out, Sam? Sam? Wait. You want cat?
Changing position.
Alright, there we go. I had to check on the cat. Alright. Catster. It's okay, Sil. Echo is not real. Alright, so Pelican playing the off angle. Super's taking the 1v1 versus the Echo. Respectable.
Helden sterben nicht.
Look how slow FD.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Heroes never die.
He's got to be careful, right? He needs to be careful doing that, right? Like, he actually touches he touches the Echo, right? He's like asking, like, he's not looking around enough. Like, he could have easily, if those sticky bombs got shot at him and he was close enough, he would have, he could have died. Like,
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Do something!
Bob gets burned down. Good flux onto the tanks. That's raised by Masa. Oh, that's not great. I forgot this happened. They're in a pretty good spot. I think Gator just underestimated how far he needs to go. Shit. That's just unfortunate for Gator. I think that's just a mistake by Gator. You could tell he was aware of it as well. I think he just miscalculated it. Shock main tanks getting tossed around like sad. Yo. So I just gotta toss the tanks around. Kai, best player ever. Okay, let's slow down. Kai is a very great. Kai is a very good hit scan. I don't know. Let's slow our roll, right? Prophet's fucking molding somewhere in the ether. Ooh. Who was the best player ever then? Prophet. Okay, alright. I'm gonna need everybody in chat to stop saying these players that have been in the league for 2 years to say that they were the best player ever. Okay? Alright? I'm gonna need you guys to slow your roll, okay? Overwatch has been around since 2016. And there have been some incredible players that are still to this day breaking records and dominating Overwatch competition. Yes, Leave is potential for MVP this season. Don't get me wrong. Kai is playing incredibly and he's one of the best hit scans we have in the league. But saying they're the best player ever? Let's calm down a little bit, okay? It's okay, Arena. Let him go. Alright, Kai gets Glista. Good res by FDGod. Oh, Super gets isolated. There's just so much damage coming out. Shock can't walk down this main street while Pelican and Kai are just shooting down on them.
Smoke them out of there!
Wobble wobble, motherfucker.
Sad Doctor, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs. Much love. Congrats to everyone who got a sub. Let's get some hearts in chat. See, I don't really like this positioning that the Shock are playing. Like, I can understand, well, this is going to be a great pull, though. This actually might offset the issue that I was highlighting. Because fuck you in particular, Hawk. Well, I guess they needed to anyway. Alright, Bob goes down. That Bob's in a good spot. It's going to shoot them in the back. They're going to have to walk forward. Super's still on the cart, but they're getting... So, as much as we're like, they're getting cart pressure and that kind of stuff, the biggest issue and the biggest difference between these two teams right now is look at this disconnect between Super and Glista. And this seems to be a common theme of like how they're doing things. Like, I don't mind off-angling, but it feels like... Also with Nero over here and Master, they're just in such a big disconnect that I'm worried that they're just going to get consolidated on. Oh, Glista killing Pelican, that was such a big kill. Oh, are they gonna get it? Oh, Masai gets the res. That was a pretty wild res. Alright, not bad, not bad. Alright, it works out for the Shock. That was a very important kill that Glista gets. That was a very important kill that Glista gets onto Pelican. Did I just say that Kai isn't the best player in the world? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. I'm trolling. But it's so impressive. The thing that impresses me about Kai, and it sort of goes with the idea that Kai must be a robot, is that I panic when somebody runs at me as a hit scan. And Kai literally has the presence of mind in this fight with an echo to be like, all right, he does like half of her health and he's like, oh my god, the Mercy's half health. Let's kill the Mercy. Just 2 taps the Mercy real quick, hits him with the shift, and then still double dinks it. And then Custa, who's been shooting at him this whole time, accidentally misses the dynamite, gets the face cam, yeah, and he just doesn't even break a sweat. He's just sitting there, completely average. This is why Super's just a genius. This is why we know him as the Wrinkle Brain. I lost it right here. I was like, dude, Super's so smart. He's so goddamn smart, because look at this play. Look at this. Gator knows he needs to get there. He fortifies so he can't get pulled out of the way. Choi Hyobin looks at the other side, and has to take the 1v1 versus Pelican, because Super, the fucking goalkeeper, hold the door! Hold the door! Hold it! Hold the door! Ah! But Choi wins the 1v1, and they get the cap. Legitimately, they probably get held here if Super doesn't go for that play. So that was a sick heads-up play. Literally gets them the cap on the second point. And that's the shit you love to see. What a Chad. Dude, he sacrifices his body for the greater good. Troy Kai is modding because he gets a 3k and team doesn't touch. Well, there's two things wrong with that. The first one is his team did try to touch. The second one is I don't think I've ever seen Kai feel the molding emotion. I apologize. Iris gets punished here. So now we're rolling, right? Now Shock's got positioning. They got their defensive setup. They know how to play this. They're getting good damage. How does Iris die here? That was a good pull. And he gets punched by Bob. Oh, that's not a great ult by Hawk. Yeah, Hawk wants that one back. Alright, let's see what we got here. They don't have a lot of ults now. They actually really needed that flux. That's actually a pretty big mistake by Hawk. But I think they hold here. So how do they get away with that? Great hold. And you see, like, you see the difference between the two teams, right? We literally were here. What was it? Like 5 minutes ago when the Rain had the advantage, right, on their attack. Pelican's fucking here, like holding this shit down, getting picks, playing aggressive. We had Kai taking aggressive angles. Everyone's playing aggressive, taking space. While the Shock feel like they're just backing into a corner. It feels like they're giving Atlanta all the space to just control it. And then look, here's a problem. All of a sudden, what are you gonna do about Kai? Oh, that was lucky by Nero. He was very much about to die. They do get a punish on Pelican. Great shot by Glista. Copy by Nero. Great flux. Slowing them down, slowing them down, slowing them down. Great. It's a good Valk. So Pelican gets rezzed? Oh, great res by Masa. Doesn't get hit by the flux as well. Gets Pelican up. Gets the Valk. Hits the Valk. Masa goes on to kill Glista. Bada bing, bada boom, bada thing. And that's just passive play, it feels like. I know his Shock don't have any ults, but it didn't feel like they started aggressive and made Lorraine work for their positioning. Like, having Glista Violet over here is great, right? But, like, I would have put, nah, maybe, like, having Nero here more aggressive earlier. You know what I mean? Like, Nero was, like, here, but it didn't feel like they were playing aggressive. Neither one of their tanks took the space. And it just didn't feel like they had a massive ult advantage. They should have been able to win that pretty handily. But, yeah, that's a weird fight for the Shock to lose. And that sort of, it just keeps on nailing my point home, right? Of, like, this doesn't feel like the same Shock that we know. Alright, what do we got here? Good pull. I don't know how I feel about the window, but it kind of forces positioning and slows the Shock down, so it's not the worst.
Hello.
Feels bad, sad doctor. Alright, so how do the Shock engage this? Man, they do not like Gator. I don't know. They rush down Gator. I don't know how I feel about that. They get him. But I feel like that cost them so much, right? Like, your plan going into the fight can't be to rush Gator, right? Also, I don't know what this window... I feel like the window should be like here. Like, it costs them so... Like, Gator just fortifies. And... Oh, maybe... Did he use fortify early and that's why they rush him? I'm really curious why Shock went for this play because it's very uncommon to try and rush down Orisa. So they see him fortify. So this is probably the call here, right? Mr. Delisi probably made this call. He sees the fortify from Gator. And I think, yeah, so this is probably a super call right here. He sees Gator use fortify and he's like, we can run over the Orisa. Which is true, it just takes them too long and it costs them everything, right? The window's not great, forces their own lamp, forces their own fortify, and that just like, Iris, Pelican, Kai are all just off angling, right? I do want to hit something here again though. Like, you just saw, you just heard Kai use Bob and Hawk use Flux, right? You're like, that's great. But it's, this can't happen. He just lost 2 plays. He just lost his BAP and his Orisa. And he hears 2 ults go out. Like, Glister's got to be really careful with his ults. He did the same thing on their second point defense. When they lost the second point. Would it be better to reset? 100%. You come back with ults, right? You just force Flux, Bob, and Flux and Bob out. Those are 2 pretty crucial ultimates. You're coming back with a lot of ults. You can engage with the Bob in this next fight. If they use Bob Bongo, and then Nero uses that that copy to get deep as well, they're in a pretty good team fight. That's a good team fight. Why did FDGod res there to keep super up? Let me have a look.
60 seconds remaining.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Didn't think it was over? Maybe because of the bulb or something? Yeah, I don't know. Glista Final Fight is good. I don't think anyone's doubting that Glista's not a great player. Like, Leroy Alexander, thank you for the 3 months. Yeah, I don't think anyone's doubting that Glista's not a good player. I think he just seems nervous. And he seems like he just makes a couple of weird mistakes from now on. I think he's hitting shots a lot more now, which is good for him. But yeah, still not 100% flawless. Oh, the Bob. I don't know. Why is his Bongo there? Did Super try and drop it behind the wall and then fuck up the positioning of it?
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Sterben nicht.
Sigma.
Look at this off. This is what they needed to do more of, right? Like, get people coming in for these weird off angles and stuff like that. And that's what I think Atlanta does so well with, especially with Pelican, is apply pressure in a different spot, right? Oh god, Iris just gets murdered going for that.
Sigma.
Oh, Masar gets Glista and gets the res on Kai. Dude, Masar's Mercy has been very impressive. They end up winning the front. Oh, that would have been sick if they hit that. Oh, he got the Bob off. Ooh, yeah, shotgun there eventually. But yeah, that was very close. That was a good play by Glista. As much as he got punished for it, I think that was a good play by Glista. Creating that off angle, because what that does, right, providing pressure in different angles just forces them to react in a different way. If they just keep trying to walk him from the front, like, they're just gonna get punished, obviously, right? Massa? I don't know. I always call him Massa.
Round 2.
I don't know. I did a support thing, and I'm pretty sure did I ask Massa? I think I asked Massa in that thing as well, and he said Massa's fine. He says, like, you can call me however you want to pronounce it.
Ready for battle.
The Soldier 76 wanted there. I don't think he did.
Ready. 5,
All right, let's see it.
4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers increase.
Who's winning the Gene Joust? I talked about it earlier. I think I'm putting my money in the Atlanta Reign. I think if the Atlanta Reign play like they did this weekend, I think they can get it. I think they look really good. I love the diversity of their compositions. What do you say? I say Jexa. I don't say Jexa. I think it is supposed to be Jexer, but I call him Jexer. I don't really know which one it is. Burn blue, yeah, I think a lot of people are going for Dallas. Alright, so you can see them taking the space here. Look at this. Iris is gonna get the copy first. And like, here's the thing that like, you wanna know what this looks like? This looks oddly familiar, right guys? Having Masara and Pelican here. It's not like the Shock are doing anything wrong or different with Nero and FDGod playing this off angle. They just got punished for it. And it like the Shock aren't punishing it themselves, right? So the window's really good here because they know that the Shock are gonna have to contest. Like Super's just trying to not die, but the window is just so good. They got so much advantage by getting that window down first. Good res by FDGod on the Super, but
Adaptive circuits engaged.
60 seconds.
Do something.
name myself after a bird. That is the true solution. Dude, this was insane when this was happening live. I was freaking out. I was like, dude, they got Baps on the ground. They got double Bap versus Lucio Bap with an Echo coming in late. Then the Orisa pull was actually very good. Violet gets punished. Nero gets the window down. And there it is.
Victory.
Aye, and that's it. That's the match. Honestly, as I said, so far throughout this review, I think Atlanta played very well. I think it was a great game, and I don't think people are giving enough credit to the Atlanta Reign for just being a great team and like coordinating so well in this meta. I think they have a massive advantage. I'm a believer of the Reign right now. But the San Francisco Shock don't look like the San Francisco Shock. We thought that they had their mojo back a lot. They did very well throughout the regular season games of the June Joust, but this wasn't it. Like, this just wasn't it. And you can see the cracks showing a lot in this match. Not just individual performances. Like, people, as I said, people are pointing to FDGod. People are pointing to Nero for some whatever reasons. I think Violet struggled this game. I don't think Choi had a phenomenal game himself. He was kind of missing throughout a lot of that. There was definitely a lot of disconnect from team synergy of just like people not communicating very well. I don't know. It was a little all over the place for the Shock, which was kind of weird to see. So hopefully they can bounce back from this. But as I said, it's the reason these cracks are showing. They've probably always been there. They're just being pushed harder than they've ever been pushed before in the last 2 seasons. So I think props to the Reign for having such a good game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys found it insightful. Thank you very much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one.